football today. Today's game features the Sooners of Oklahoma, the top running attack in the nation, against the powerful offense of the Nebraska Cornhuskers, led by the explosive Johnny Rogers. College football today is brought to you by P.F. Goodrich, makers of Lifesaver, the American radio. By Colt 45 Malt Liquor, a completely unique experience. And by General Electric television products. At General Electric, we build every television as if we were going to use it ourselves. Memorial Stadium in Lincoln, Nebraska is the home of college football's national champions of 1970 and 1971. Today, those Cornhuskers of Nebraska and the Sooners of Oklahoma battle for the championship of the Big Eight. And more than 76,000 fans will be here on this clear, crisp day. Hello, everybody. I'm Bill Fleming, along with Bud Wilkinson, Chris Schenkel, and all of us here at ABC Sports, welcoming you to Lincoln, Nebraska, and we hope that we can add to your enjoyment of this Thanksgiving Day. Yesterday, here in Memorial Stadium, there was a huge pep rally in honor of the Nebraska Cornhuskers, who are closing out their regular season. And we thought it would be a perfect spot to do our pregame show on this stop here in Lincoln, Nebraska. So let's watch. Difficult to talk about serious football with all this emotion behind us, Bud Wilkinson. But I think we should talk about the significance of this game. No place in college football will you find a game for the last 2 years that had more significance than the Oklahoma-Nebraska game. A year ago today, it was the great game of the century.
Well, this year the teams aren't rated quite as highly, but they're still very much up there. Oklahoma rated number 4 going into the game, Nebraska number 5. Oklahoma upset by Colorado. In the opening game, the Cornhuskers were upset by UCLA and then tied by Iowa State on a very muddy, slippery field. But they're two of the great teams in the country, Bill, and this is for the Big Eight Championship, and that means something here in the Midlands.
Okay, in tomorrow's game, there's added emotion because Bob Devaney is retiring as the head football coach of Nebraska. As you know, the winningest coach in college football will have his final game here in Lincoln tomorrow, and I think that's the reason we have such a tremendous amount of excitement here at the Pep Rally.
We also are going to have 3 of the leading candidates for the Heisman Trophy playing in the game. Johnny Rogers of Nebraska, Rich Glover of Nebraska, and Greg Pruitt of Oklahoma. All great players.
Okay, we'll be back to talk about the Oklahoma offense here in this 1972 edition of the renewal of the rivalry between the Cornhuskers of Nebraska and the Sooners of Oklahoma.
We'd like you to come along with us to see the brightest, sharpest color picture General Electric has ever put into big screen television. With GE's unique 100% solid-state modulus system that runs cooler for better performance, longer life, easier servicing. General Electric Color TV for 1973.
Introducing the superior-sized small motor home.
Funny, it doesn't look any wider.
But it is wider, 14 inches wider than a van. Taller, too, with a steel frame all around, even in the top.
That's good.
Inside, there's space for all the conveniences and comforts of a full-size motor home.
Funny, it still doesn't look any wider.
See for yourself at your Superior Motor Home dealer.
Superior is what it says it is. Superior.
I think we ought to talk a little bit about the difference between these teams from a year ago and right now. Let's first of all talk about Oklahoma.
Well, Oklahoma last year was an awesome offensive football team, the best offensive team perhaps in the history of college football, but to be very honest, they were what I would call an ordinary defensive team. this year they have become a totally balanced team. They've got a great offense, but a superior defense. They've given up only 4 touchdowns this year and are second in the country in scoring defense, and that's a remarkable improvement.
You know, in their backfield, they have 3 young men who have played together since freshmen. Wiley, Crosswhite, and Pruitt. They are now seniors. This will be the final game for them in the Big 8 Conference. And, of course, they are really something to watch. They have really brought glory to Oklahoma.
Well, they're great blockers for each other, Bill, and they're also great runners, and they operate out of that awesome wishbone attack. That's the first fake to the fullback, and here's the pitch to Greg Pruitt with Wiley leading into the outside. Pruitt cuts up in, and this is why he's a Heisman Trophy candidate.
And he almost waves bye-bye to the last defender. I think one of the things about Pruitt that makes him so devastatingly exciting is the fact that he carries the ball out there in such a dangerous way. Many have said it's just like carrying home a loaf of bread.
Well, this is another pitch, and I can guarantee you that Nebraska will do everything they can to keep the pitch from going out to Pruitt. They'd like to keep him inside where he does not have the room to use his speed and to maneuver downfield.
Joe Wiley is one of those long-legged runners that really can sprint when he gets that ball.
And you can see Pruitt's block for him there on the corner man. Wiley's got breakaway speed, as does have Pruitt, and this is why the Sooners are leading the nation in rushing offense. The fullback always fakes over the ball first in the wishbone, and Leon Crosswhite is a great ball carrier and a devastating blocker.
And an 18-year-old who has made the squad as a freshman is Joe Washington, and he has some of Pruitt's characteristics.
And if Pruitt's ankle does not hold up today, Washington will be a very capable replacement for him because he does have almost the same degree of skill.
Speaking of replacements, a fellow who had to be replaced from last year's team was All-American Jack Milton, the quarterback. Dave Robertson has done a super job of doing that. Dave, perhaps Bud is not the runner that Milton was, but I think he's a fine passer.
Well, Robertson has filled in very, very well. I think he's a very competent runner, but he's an excellent passer, and he's got 2 great receivers to throw to in Al Chandler and also in John Carroll, pardon me. And this was the first pass here to Al Chandler, who is his tight end, 6'3", 222-pounder, who can really go get the ball.
And as Carroll catches the ball here, you can see that he had beautiful position and was hit perfectly with the ball. And the same thing happens with Chandler. And I think these ground-level shots really are something to watch. He unloaded this one.
Well, the wishbone has the defense drawn up very, very closely, and when Oklahoma does throw, usually they're trying to throw deep with their receivers behind them. As we mentioned a moment ago, Greg Pruitt did hurt his ankle last week against Kansas, and how fast he will be today, whether he'll be at full speed, is going to be a very important factor to the Sooners, and we'll know right after the kickoff about that.
You know what, that sign you just saw there a moment ago was that Glover says that Brahaney, who is the center of Oklahoma, is just another pretty face. So we've seen a lot of humor here in the Pep Rally at Nebraska. In just a moment, we'll be back to talk about the Nebraska team, the defending national champions, who will say goodbye to their coach, Bob Devaney, in that game tomorrow against their hated rivals from Norman.
How do you prove to the world you have a tough radial tire? If you're B.F. Goodrich, you take your passenger tire to tracks like Daytona, Sebring, Le Mans, up to 200 miles per hour, not a single tire failure. Only B.F. Goodrich dares do it. Lifesaver, the tough American radial. If you're B.F. Goodrich, you run on police cars in 33 states. Quick starts, fast stops, rough, tough driving, thousands and thousands of miles. Lifesaver, the tough American radial. And if you're B.F. Goodrich, racing and chasing shows you how to make the newest, toughest Lifesaver radial ever, with steel for extra strength, cushion for extra comfort. Lifesaver RS, the tough American radial, the only radial with cushioned steel belts, and only from B.F. Goodrich.
Run, Johnny, run. That can only mean one thing in the place of Lincoln, Nebraska. That's Johnny Rogers, who is attending the Pep Rally here I'll tell you this. This young man, who is, of course, one of the Heisman Trophy candidates this year, has brought an electrifying excitement to college football.
He's not the only boy I remember seeing, Bill, that's going to put 7 points on the board during the game that no one else would make. It's a little dimension that gives Nebraska what they need to have the balance that they have. And offensively, they've got the most remarkable balance of any team that I've known in a long time. They're averaging 232 yards a game passing, 235 yards a game rushing. That's just 3 yards difference. That's why their offense goes. And
one statistic about Johnny Rodgers that I think is just great is the fact that every 8.9 times that he touches the football, he scores a touchdown.
Well, he is incredible. He's remarkable, unbelievable. All of those things people have said about him. And I think that these pictures will give you some idea of why coaches, sports writers, and fans say that this boy is perhaps the most exciting player that has been in college football in a great many years. This was last year's Oklahoma-Nebraska game, and this punt return started Nebraska to victory.
This game, with less than 4 minutes gone in that first quarter, it was 72 yards on the punt return, and it put Nebraska out in front by the score of 7-0. And you saw Joe Blaha wipe out Harrison there of Oklahoma with that great block. And that was the first blood in that game that turned out to be one of the most exciting games we've ever seen, 35-31 Nebraska.
And here he is again against Colorado, and look at these moves.
I still don't believe that one.
Now, what can you say? In addition to his punt returning, he lines up all over the backfield. He'll be a wide receiver. He'll be a wing back. He may even be the tailback. And from all of those positions, he breaks out into the various areas of the field to catch the ball. And by lining up so many places, it's almost impossible for the defense to put double coverage on him. And here he comes on the reverse play as a running back. And this is just straightaway speed when he sees that goal line.
Johnny Rodgers has scored 46 touchdowns, an all-time Nebraska record. 46 of them, and he hopes to make it more tomorrow.
They have a great sophomore quarterback also in David Hum. Hum is a left-hander who has a remarkable completion percentage. He's completing 55% of his passes. He has other great receivers in Ravel and List, in addition to Johnny Rodgers. And that, of course, is why the passing attack of the Huskers has been so very effective.
And, of course, you'll know that he was behind Jerry Tagge a year ago. He sat on the bench and watched that Oklahoma game, and he said to me earlier, I can't wait to get in against those Sooners.
Well, it gives the boy a lot of confidence to have the kind of protection he's receiving, and also to have 3 great receivers to throw to.
We talked about the fact that Jerry Tagge had to be replaced, but there was also a fellow on the field last year by the name of Jeff Guinea, who played a big role in the Nebraska victory.
Well, I think that if Nebraska is at all weaker than they were a year ago, it's because they don't have the back that can hit the consistent yardage. But Olds at fullback and Dixon at tailback are both remarkable players, and from their I formation, they have great power. This is the basis of their I formation attack. Olds leading, blocking one-on-one and breaking it open for Gary Dixon.
What a hole.
Well, there are lots of those with those big linemen blocking. Olds himself is a fine runner, 224 pounds with good speed. A fullback that has really speed enough to get outside. A remarkable thing.
You know, we've talked about offense here, but really the keynote between these two teams, and certainly Nebraska, is the defense of Nebraska, the black shirts, the ones who take so much pride. And, of course, that team is led by Rich Glover. But Oklahoma has a pretty good middle guard, too, in Lucius Selman, who is only a junior and who will be back next year.
Well, both of these men play their positions in the same way. They'll be crowding the center right up on his nose, and they'll try to defeat the center, and so far they've defeated every center they've played against. It requires the offense now to double-team them, and when they start double-teaming one man in the middle, there's a lot of openings for their teammates on defense to spill through and make the bad play.
So we'll be back in just a moment to talk about the keys to victory. But right now, let's just soak up a little bit of this pep rally here at Nebraska as they try to generate some heat to carry on those Huskers to victory against the Sooners of Oklahoma.
dull and commonplace occurrences of day-to-day living, one thing stands out as a completely unique experience. Colt 45 malt liquor.
How do you prove to the world you have a tough radial tire? If you're B.F. Goodrich, run on police cars in 33 states for thousands of punishing miles. Lifesaver, the tough American radial. And learn how to make the newest, toughest Lifesaver radial ever. Steel for strength, cushion for comfort. Lifesaver RS, the tough American radial. The only radial with cushioned steel. Only from B.F. Goodrich.
Excitement here in Memorial Stadium in Lincoln, Nebraska. Let's talk about the keys to victory, Bud.
Well, from the standpoint of Nebraska, it's very simple and very basic. Stop the Oklahoma running attack. If you're looking at it from the side of the Sooners, you've got to stop the Nebraska passing first. Above all, keep Johnny Rodgers from one of those breakaway touchdowns. And the Sooners, with their high-risk offense, cannot afford to have more than 2 turnovers if they expect to win.
Well, I suppose as a fitting climax to our Pep Rally show today, we should just simply turn around and ask these fans who's going to win. But I don't think there'd be much of a question in answering that. So we'll just say, suck it up a little bit. And this has been the College Football Today show coming to you from Memorial Stadium here in Lincoln. The Pep Rally, which originated yesterday to spur this team on to win over Oklahoma to try to make it number 4 in a row over the Sooners.
Oscar takes to the woods for a bit of inspiration tomorrow night on ABC.
College football. In today's game, the Sugar Bowl-bound Sooners of Oklahoma meet the Nebraska Cornhuskers in a showdown between 2 of the nation's top 5 teams. NCAA College Football, another ABC Sports exclusive, is brought to you by Texaco and the many thousands of retailers and distributors in all 50 states. Trust Texaco to have the right gasoline for you. By Chevrolet, who's building a better way to see the USA. By New York Life Insurance Company and your local New York Life agent. And by Miles Laboratories Incorporated, makers of Alka-Seltzer. For relief of headache and upset stomach, Alka-Seltzer. A year ago, it was billed as the game of the century. Today, this could be billed as the game of the decade between 4th-ranked Oklahoma and number 5-ranked Nebraska, the defending champions of college football. And as you see, our record capacity crowd here in the plains of Nebraska. We're in Lincoln. An early morning fog has been replaced by a crystal clear sky. The temperature around 37 degrees as the Oklahoma Sooners in the white and red, coached by Chuck Fairbanks, begin to come out on the field. And there is plenty of red here today because that's the predominant color of both teams, and it's a great rivalry. We're going to see renewed once again this afternoon, a rivalry that was helped started by this man, Coach Bud Wilkinson. Bud?
It ought to be a whale of a game, Chris. Oklahomans are concerned about Greg Pruitt, their great halfback, who sprained an ankle last week against the Kansas team. I talked to Dr. O'Donohue, the team physician of Oklahoma, before the game. He said the ankle has never had any swelling in it. He hopes and expects that Pruitt will be able to play, but how well it holds up will have a great deal to do with the Sooners' offensive performance. We do have marvelous rankings of these 2 teams. Their statistics, and this is Pruitt here, as you can see, swinging out around, and a little bit of a limp there, but when the adrenaline gets to flowing, Chris, and the game is really on, I think that limp will go away. The statistics of these 2 teams are absolutely outstanding. We have a couple of cards here that I believe give you some idea. This is a team comparison. And you can see their rankings nationally, their record, the points scored, both prolific scoring teams and also points allowed. The comparison of the two teams nationally is just as interesting to me.
And of course, in this game, we have more All-Americans than you could have in any matchup of any college game. Because you have people like Glover, you have Tom Brahaney, the center of Oklahoma, Willie Harper of Nebraska, Johnny Rogers, Greg Pruitt, and 3 Heisman Trophy candidates.
Yes, and Johnny Rogers is really something. The University of Nebraska's coaching staff, particularly Bob Devaney, who incidentally is coaching his last game in the stadium today, has done a remarkable job of putting this boy where it's almost impossible to find him offensively. Johnny will line up all over the place. You like to double team him defensively, but he'll be at the flanker position, as you see. He'll move into a slot position. He may move in and become a wingback. And from that wingback position, he may break the huddle, and this time he'd be lined up at tailback. And then he'll go through those same formations to the opposite side. Here he is now at a wide flanker. So the defense can see him come out of the huddle, but it's almost impossible to play him 2-on-1 because he can line up all of those places, and then he'll also pick up and go in motion.
So remembers number 20 for Nebraska, Rogers, number 30, Pruitt of Oklahoma. We have a lot to be thankful for, and we're very thankful that Bill Fleming is on our announcing staff here at ABC. He's down in the field in the sunshine where it's starting to warm as the action is about to get underway. Here are the stars of the game. Bill Fleming to introduce them.
Thank you very much, Chris. Ladies and gentlemen, here are the lineups for today's game. First of all, for the Sooners of Oklahoma. At left end from Sacramento, California, number 36, Pete Halfman. At left tackle from Poplar Bluff, Missouri, number 97, Derlin Moore. At middle guard from Eufaula, Oklahoma, number 98, Lucius Selman. At right tackle from Oklahoma City, number 96, Ray Hamilton. At right end from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, number 31, Vic Kearney. At linebacker from Houston, Texas, number 44, David Smith. A linebacker from Spiro, Oklahoma, number 43, Rod Schote. Left cornerback from Watonga, Oklahoma, number 26, Larry Roach. Right cornerback from Houston, Texas, number 28, Kenneth Pope. Strong safety from Oklahoma, number 19, Randy Hughes. And safety from Littleton, Colorado, number 16, Dan Ruster. And the head coach of the Sooners, Chuck Fairbanks. And now for the Cornhuskers of Nebraska. Split in from Sierra Madre, California, 84, Bob Ravel. And left tackle from East Orange, New Jersey, number 72, Darrell White. And left guard from Fremont, Nebraska, number 67, Dan Anderson. At center from Melrose Park, Illinois, number 54, Captain Doug Dumler. And right guard from Ord, Nebraska, number 62, Mike Barron. Right tackle from Toledo, Ohio, number 70, Marvin Crenshaw. Tight end from Bay City, Michigan, number 85, Jerry List. At quarterback from Las Vegas, Nevada, number 12, David Hum. The I-back from Oxnard, California, number 22, Gary Dixon. At wingback from Omaha, Nebraska, number 20, Johnny Rogers. At fullback from Kansas City, Kansas, number 44, Bill Olds. The defensive captain at left tackle from Grand Forks, North Dakota, number 55, Bill Jensen. And ladies and gentlemen, making his final appearance in Memorial Stadium as the head coach of Nebraska, Bob Devaney. Thank you very much.
A standing ovation for Bob Devaney. Great coach, and there are his players, the defending national champions, who will meet their rivals in a few moments. Oklahoma. We'll be back.
Where do you find All-Pro quarterback Bart Starr?
Right here in the Yellow Pages under automobile dealers.
Bart, how do the Yellow Pages work for you?
Well, the Yellow Pages is a vital part of our total advertising program. In fact, we're so pleased with the results that we've increased the size of our ad in the Yellow Pages, and we've doubled our listings. We've doubled something else, too. That's our business.
Remember, 3 out of 4 prospects let their fingers do the walking. Advertise in the Yellow Pages.
Talk about unsettled stomachs. There are times.
Hey, you're going to talk, you're going to play.
when things get a little unsettled. So does my head. My stomach.
Read 'em and weep.
I can take losing. And I can't take the pastrami. Luckily, there's Alka-Seltzer.
Alka-Seltzer starts to work as you drink it to settle your upset stomach. For your upset stomach and headache, take Alka-Seltzer.
My stomach feels much better.